Good morning, one and all watching this particular video. So today I'm going to discuss on Java and web programming course for first sem MSc Computer Science. Myself, Dr. Muruganantham, Associate Professor, Kristu Jayanti College, Bengaluru. First of all, we are going to discuss about the course objectives of this particular Java and web programming. Objective behind this particular course is to understand the basic concepts of object-oriented programming with Java. The students need to understand what is object and what is class and what are the different aspects of object-oriented programming. So that is the intention of this particular course. And then followed by how we can implement those object-oriented concepts into Java. So that we'll be discussing in the further units. And then followed by graphical user interface using Swing. Because applet has been now moved out of the market. So Swing has been introduced in the unit number 3, where we'll be discussing about the various controls of AWT, how we can utilize in our programming. So something like how to create a basic form and how to place various controls, all those things are the objective behind this particular course. And then followed by unit number 4 and 5, we'll be having a discussion about server-side programming using servlet, JSP, and XML, which is all server-side programming is being most widely used in the market. So those aspects we'll be discussing. That is the learning behind this particular course of Java and programming. Once you complete the particular course, you can able to get certain outcomes. So number 1 is going to be the fundamental concepts of object-oriented programming with respect to Java. Basically something like class, methods, and even the class libraries students can able to understand. And then followed by the students can able to create the programming using different concepts. So something like interface, how to create an interface and how to implement a particular interface in different classes. And as well as the object-oriented programming concepts, something like inheritance, and then they have a polymorphism, all those things they can able to implement. And even the students can able to create the packages, files, and thread. So threading is one of the key concepts. So they can able to implement multi-threading. So that is the outcome of this particular course. And another one, how to handle the runtime error during the execution of the program. So there might be a lot of errors might occur, how to handle it and how to overcome. So for that, the exception handling mechanism, so that they can able to implement. And along with that, the graphical user interface programming Swing also they can able to do. So that is the outcome of this particular course. And followed by the server side using servlet, they can able to create a servlet, they can able to deploy the servlet, and they can able to handle HTTP requests using different methods, something like get and post methods. And as well as the students can able to create the cookies, and as well as they can able to track the sessions. So session tracking is one of the key mechanisms, so that also can able to get out of this particular course. And then finally, the students can able to create a complete web application using JSP as well as XML. So these are the course outcome of this particular course. And unit 1, these are the key topics which will be having a discussion. So the number 1 is going to be the principles of object-oriented programming. So where we'll be having a discussion on encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So these are the core 3 principles that we'll be having a discussion. And then followed by the concepts of object-oriented programming, where we'll be having a discussion on abstract and method overloading, method overriding, and then extendability, as well as reusability. Reusability, that is basically using inheritance concept, we can go for reusability. And then dynamic binding, that is basically nothing but a polymorphism. So these are the basics concepts of object-oriented programming. We'll be having a discussion, and then followed by we'll be switching over to the Java-based mechanism, where we'll be discussing on the advantages of Java and the various geotypes is being part of the Java, and then the importance of the array, Then we'll be going towards object-oriented implementations, where we'll be creating all the program using class, and how to create a method and how to implement method. We'll be having a discussion. And then what is constructor, and even we'll be discussing constructor overloading. So those concepts will be having a discussion, and followed by we'll be having a discussion about method overloading as well as method overriding. So something like early binding and late binding. So that also will be having a discussion, and then followed by the core concepts of Java, which is a string, which is one of the powerful concepts, which will be having a discussion. And in string, there are various methods. Those methods also will be having a discussion, and then followed by a string buffer class, which is uh, at an advanced level of string. So that also will be having a discussion. In string buffer, we have a set of methods. Those also will be seeing on it, and then followed by will be having a discussion on vector and wrapper classes. Then unit 2 is all about packages, interfaces, multi-threading, and exception handling. So in Java, there are huge collection of repository of packages being available, inbuilt packages, or we can say built-in packages. So those packages will be having a discussion, and then followed by students can able to create their own package. So we'll be seeing how to create a package and how to access a package, and as well as how to use a package. And then followed by we'll be having the creation of interface, and how we can go for implementing the interface, because interface is something like a template where whichever class is needed, they can go for implementing it. In implementation class, they can go for adding their own body content. And then followed by the important aspects of Java programming, which is nothing but a thread, and there is a thread life cycle. So that we'll be having a discussion, and followed by the priorities which will be given for the thread, that also will be having discussion. The threading concept is basically used in gaming applications, especially in multi-threading. So those also will be having a discussion, and followed by what is an exception, how the exception appear, and how to handle this exception. So for that, we have an exception handling mechanism. So for exception handling mechanism, we have a 5 keywords: so try, catch, throw, throws, and finally. So these are all having a discussions. And then followed by we'll be having a concepts of stream. What is stream, and how to uh, handle those stream setup classes, and what are the importance of stream classes and hierarchy of stream classes, and the file handling mechanism. All those things will be having discussion under unit number 2. And then unit number 3, where we'll be moving towards a graphical user interface. In graphical user interface, basically we'll be discussing about the introduction point of a swing, and then followed by MVC. MVC is nothing but model view controller. How this particular controls are being created using this particular MVC pattern, that will be having a discussion, followed by what is even, and what is even handling mechanisms, how it's being worked. Based on delegation event model, we'll be having a discussion, followed by what is listeners, and there are different types of listeners are being there. So that also will be having a go through it. And then adapter. So what is the need of adapter and how it's being used. So that also will be having a elaboration, and then followed by the different controls are being part of this particular swing, which is something like a text component. Basically, it's being used for interactions with the users. So that will be having a discussion. And look and feel. So that is more important, because when you go for a graphical user interface, look and feel is one of the key concepts. So that will be discussed. We'll be discussing elaborately. And then followed by, these are the few components are being part of your swing. So something like a text field, label, button, scroll bar, slider, and progress bar. So like that, etc. So those controls will be having a discussion. And then what is container, how this container is going to be play a key role when you want to place all your components. So, and there is a user defined window which is being called as frames, that also will be having a discussion, followed by a layout managers. The layout managers is the one where we can able to place all your controls in different aspects. Something like we can have a flow layout, we have a grid layout, grid path layout. So different types of layouts. So those things will be having a discussion, followed by what is menu and how to create a menu, and how to place various tools on this particular menu. So those things also being part of this particular unit number 3 itself. and then followed by tables and trees. So that is also will be having a in detail discussion. And unit number 4 and 5 will be moving towards server-side programming, because the first 3 units are being covered basically something like client-side programming. So unit number 4 and 5 will be covering on web-based aspects. So it's all server-side point of view. And whenever you are trying to interact with the user, the most two important things, one will be interacting through HTML forms, or will be using a CGI scripting. So something like common gateway interface scripting. So earlier they used C, C++, ADA, Smalltalk, so those languages. But now once Java has been come, so they have taken over, and they have created one of the key programming for server side, which is nothing but server programming. So we'll be seeing what is server programming, as well as what are the importance of server programming and the life cycle behind of server programming, and how we can go for implementing this server programming using a web server. So one of the famous web servers being used, most widely used in the market, is nothing that Tomcat Apache. So that we'll be having a discussion, followed by how we can deploy simple servlet programming using this particular web server. So that also will be having discussion. So we will be using our Eclipse. One of the tool is being called as Eclipse tools. Using this Eclipse tools, we can go for implementing all your servlet programming, where we'll be adapting this Apache Tomcat web server for running our server-side programming. And then this servlet has an inbuilt API. So those APIs will be having a discussion, followed by there are different set of packages are being part of this particular servlet itself. Those packages and advantages of those packages, how we can incorporate into our programming, that also will be having a elaborate discussion. And then followed by we'll be having a discussion on how to pass a parameter from client to server. What are the different mechanisms to be adapted to pass this data? And there are two core basic methods being used for passing the data from the client to the server, which is nothing but get and post method. And we'll be having a discussion what is the difference between get and what is the difference, what is the difference between get and post method, how we can use on it. And whenever you're going for any of the HTTP requests, which will be something like using get or post method, and in turn the HTTP need to provide the response back to the client using a response. So where we have a two basic classes, which is called HTTP servlet request and HTTP servlet response. So those things also will be having a discussion. And then another important thing is how to store the client information, because HTTP is a stateless protocol. It doesn't maintain or retain the user information. So to maintain or to store certain basic information about the user, where we'll be adapting a mechanism called cookie. So we'll be discussing on what is cookie and how to create a cookie and how to store the small amount of information on the client side. And then followed by another key aspect, which is being called as session tracking mechanism, how to track the session of the user using a different mechanism, which will be having a discussion. So these are all the things which will be covered under unit number 4. And followed by unit number 5, we'll be having a discussion on JSP and XML, where JSP will be having a discussion on JSP lifecycle, which is quietly differ from your servlet. And all these things will be in the form of tags. And there are various tags have been adapted for JSP that will also be having a discussion, and how to run this JSP program using Tomcat web server, that also will be having a discussion. And then again, we'll be discussing about session handling mechanism, cookies, and how all these things are working, all these aspects. And followed by, we'll be having a discussion on JSP expression language also. So these are all being covered under JSP. And another important aspect is being called as XML, that is extensible markup language, and where the user can go for creating of their own customized tags. So that is one of the key advantage of this particular XML. So we'll be having a discussion on that, followed by what are the XML elements and what are the XML attributes, how to create on it, and how we can use CSS in XML, and followed by how to create different types of variables which is being needed for your XML using DTD. So that is called document type definition, as well as XML schema. So these are the things we'll be discussing under unit number 5. So it's something like we'll be starting with the client-side programming, and then we'll be moving towards server-side programming. So here, this particular syllabus, which will be covering the essential aspect of Java programming, as well as essential aspect of servlet, JSP, and XML. So in such a way that the syllabus has been framed. And these are the just reference books which you can refer, where one of the core books which is being used for programming with Java is being created by C. Muthu, that you can refer on it. And as well as for servlet and JSP, that is basically for a server-side programming, we can use Udi Kurnivan. So that is the author name, so where you can refer on it. And for Java programming, you can refer Balagurusamy as well as Someshegara. So these are the books you can refer. And one of the core book which you can refer, which is nothing that the complete reference of Java 2. So that also has been an essential book, you can refer on it. And another book, if you want to have more programming, if you want to do more programming on Java, so where you can refer this book called Rashmi Kandidas. The title is being called as Core Java for Beginners. So that also you can refer on it. And there are other set of books that's being given. So these are all the reference books which you can refer for further exploring into the particular syllabus. Yeah. So once again, thank you all.